Good morning. Welcome to this Seattle's most creatively distinguished super spread event. I know most of you guys just came back from Hawaii or Europe last night, or maybe you're going to Hawaii or Europe this weekend again. Thank you for making the time. I feel really special this morning. Thank you. So my name is Eason, not Ethan or Easton. I'm a designer. I'm a husband, a father. I'm also a cancer survivor. I run a nonprofit organization called NED, Not Entirely Dead, to help young adult cancer survivors to re-engage their careers. So we all know, every once in a while, a social movement comes along that changes everything. We're very fortunate living this age. Most likely, diversity, equity, and inclusivity will change our lives. NED is an organization celebrating diversity, equity, and inclusivity for cancer survivors, specifically in the workplace. Before jumping into talking about why and how, I feel responsible to talk about who. I want to introduce you guys who are cancer survivors. Let's just say cancer survivors like to compete on everything, on every level. Everyone has their own epic comeback stories, so we get really competitive. When I say evidence, I mean Fight Club rules. There are quite a few of them. First evidence. Have you guys read this book? Have you actually just take a look at this book cover, how ridiculous it is. All the big words they're trying to use just to praise this disease, cancer. This actually sets the tone for this competition. It just means cancer is the perfect form of disease. We don't really have a cure for cancer. And that's why cancer survivors get really competitive. We want to compete with this disease. We're against, I call it the darkest shit. It's the ultimate challenge of life. And all cancer survivors know only the strong survive. Well, next evidence, whenever you hear this word cancer, you hear people talk about cancer, you would ask, what kind? What kind of cancer? What treatment did you have? And if I talk with my fellow cancer survivors, if I say, they will actually interrupt you right there. They will say, hey, have you heard? There's this super rare kind of cancer. Nobody survives. And they just go, bragging about how they survived, how much treatment they take. And we all heard a lot of crazy stories, maybe based on books, movies, or probably just the stories I'm about to talk. Well, they're pretty crazy, let's say. They're all crazy stories, but there's no such thing as the crazy story. Everyone thinks their story is crazier than yours. But the bottom line, to survive this survivor community is you have to have a story crazy enough. So no one would actually look down on you. Otherwise, you will feel really small. Evidence number 4, you gotta run a marathon. You have to do it. Guys, just think about it, how cliche it is. Cancer survivors and our marathons. Have you thought about it? All the fundraisers, but you have to do it. If you don't run it, again, people will look down on you. Other things, the hiking, the biking, the 10Ks, they don't matter. A marathon is a marathon. Well, we care about some extra credit, right? So anything larger than life, we would appreciate. Our benchmark is really simple. It's always Lance Armstrong minus the doping. So, it's not really easy. So these are the Fight Club rules. I wanna ask you guys, I want to introduce you guys how I've done these things and what do you guys think. First of all, I'm almost 4 years cancer-free, no evidence of disease. Thank you guys, but you guys are muggles, so you don't know my world. 4 years is not something to celebrate yet. The only mark matters in cancer survivorship is the 5-year mark. Anything other than that, they don't really matter. So I have 1 year to go. So I can actually call myself cancer survivor, legit. I mean, right now I'm still technically a cancer patient. Well, whenever people ask me what kind of cancer did I have and what kind of treatment did I have, I often go really? I mean, there's no small cancer or big cancer. Nothing is as light or severe. They all try to kill you as hard as they can, right? They all try to kill you as quickly as they can. So it's really silly to compete on the types. And whenever people ask me what did I have for treatment, I often tell them, okay, I had everything. When I say everything means, here's the Seattle reference. You go into a Molly Moon ice cream. You got pretty overwhelmed. You don't know what to do. Suddenly, they offer you this big thing called the flight, which is a big plate of all the flavors. You can try them at once. That's what I had at different hospitals. That's everything. And the chemo hair, well, guys, I don't have chemo hair. This is just my beautiful hair. Thanks to this guy, the famous fashion designer, Jason Wu. He's been promoting our hair for really long. We're just buddies. Well, he's fine. He's perfectly fine. So no breaking news. Nothing happened to him. He just likes this hair as much as I do. The cliches, the running, of course, guys. Oh, here we go. Seattle Marathon. Wait, hold, one more. San Francisco Marathon. Well, 2 of them. I think I plan on running them regularly because I got this hunch, this competition, the bar probably just keep racing, so I'm okay for now. But I also want to tell you guys, I wasn't a distance runner for my entire life. No one was. We have to train ourselves. So I have run about 5,000 kilometers for the past 5 years, just for these cliches. Now I know what are the hypes about. Well, the crazy story, I have one. I'm not really proud of my story, but I feel pretty confident it's crazy enough to tell. So here goes my story. Back in 2016, I was a creative director working in the Bay Area. My wife was going to give birth to a child. So our life was pretty good. As age at 33, nothing was particularly complainable. And I was diagnosed with cancer the very last day of 2016. Our life was shattered within a day. And I found out I have to do a very urgent surgery, actually the day before my wife was going to give birth to our daughter. So I never get to really be there with my wife and my daughter. A month later, eventually I get to meet my daughter. That's okay. I saw all the pictures within the month. And the following 2 years, very literally, I dragged my family all over the world to travel just to find a cure for myself. So I don't think I need to finish this story. It's already, crazy enough to qualify this community, right? This is my daughter these days. A lot more relaxing than the travel days. I know she's cute, and I actually don't know where that strange sense of humor comes from. Extra credit. Okay, this is something I'm proud of. I can actually brag about it. I just graduated from UW right here a couple months ago. I've earned my terminal degree in design. I've been teaching design at UW. I was actually commencement speaker at my graduation ceremony. I know, and there's a recording video on YouTube. It's not 5 million views, guys. And I can tell you guys, if there are 500 views, I guarantee you 455, they're just myself. I've been watching the video for my entire summer. I probably just watched twice last night. It's just so much fun. And I have to tell you guys, let's say, until now, what do you guys think? Have I done okay? Pretty okay, right? I mean, even like everyone had their epic comeback story, I think mine's okay. But you guys probably realized that something was missing. The larger than life piece was missing. That's why I built Ned, because I feel like, that would make me feel pretty safe staying in this community. So despite all these little achievements in the past few years, cancer experience isn't something I can really just dust off. It's always in the back of my head, looking over my shoulder. It follows me everywhere. And all cancer survivors want is just one thing, is normalcy. Normalcy means a normal life. Everyone wants to reconnect with their life they had, reconnect the career they had, reconnect with the community, the society they had. But this is incredibly difficult. It's not something you can actually do. And most cancer survivors, they realize reconnecting with their career is actually particularly hard. It's just as formidable as going through treatment. Wherever I go, all the interviews I went to, people questioned me about my career gap on my resume. There's nothing I can do with it. I can't really hide it. I can't really address it. I don't even know how to communicate it. I mean, the hiring managers, they don't know either. They're probably doing it worse, right? And whatever I try to cover that career gap only makes me even more unattractive in the workplace. So this gets me pretty frustrated. I feel like that's probably the biggest or one of the biggest struggles for the past years, going through the cancer experience. And guys, look at this with my resume before cancer. Let's just say this. You guys from the creative world, this was a resume like shiny as hell. Nobody has that. If you look at this, you would go, oh, that guy would have like a bright future. That's true. Well, that didn't really last long, because whatever you see these days, it's only a career gap, a resume gap. Everything else, they don't really matter. You only see that huge gap. And all these questions, the struggles, drove me back to graduate school, because I want to do more research on this social injustice issue. I wanted to know it's just not myself being cynical, right? I mean, I wanted to know there are probably more people that are suffering from this. So I went back to graduate school and I started to do more research. And whenever you start a novel idea or thinking, people would say, hey, that's your own opinion, right? It's not research. My competitive streak, so I just wanted these people to shut up. So I started all the research. While I was in graduate school, I spent month and month and month reading and writing. There's literature review, interviews. I interviewed all kinds of people, the cancer survivors, the hiring managers, recruiters, everyone in the hiring process. And I found out my personal struggle was actually everyone's frustration. There are at least 600,000 young adult cancer survivors. They're in this problem. 600,000 young adult cancer survivors. They're in the age from 19 to 39. But even the people older than 39, they're not young adult anymore, but they're still in their prime working age, right? There are millions of them in the world. We all suffer this little thing called resume gap. You'll be really surprised how little this thing on your resume. It's just like, it's invisible, literally invisible, but how big of an impact on everyone's life. But I want to say this, guys. Fighting cancer is actually a full-time job. This is the type of job you really don't want to slack. You can't really slack. There's no mental health break. You can't really take breaks. But the hard work of defeating cancer is often seen as this unfavorable career gap. Wherever we go, the cancer survivors, we face these questions. People think we're rusty. Our skills are outdated, low productivity, we're unreliable, or maybe not relatable anymore. People just think we're damaged goods. That's what people think. Basically, what they're telling you is, hey, you don't have what it takes, or you don't have it takes anymore. A few months ago, I had this interview for a design leadership role at a big tech company. I don't even want to drop any names because only a few big tech companies. The hiring manager was a senior VP. He told me, hey, Eason, you could have this job or you would have this job 5 years ago. But it's today. I'm not sure how much leadership skills you still have. So hanging up that phone, I actually cried. I just realized how formidable that systemic issue was, how difficult to shift people's mind and to let them see you the way they used to see you, and how difficult to get the world to understand the career gaps is not actually empty, right? And I think I shouldn't be the one feel embarrassed crying. The other guy should feel embarrassed. He made a young man cry. What they don't realize is career gaps aren't empty. Facing mortality is not like sitting around. And fighting cancer is possibly one of the toughest jobs in the world. One of the most difficult job you can ever take on, right? And for this job, it deserves a place on a resume. There are nearly 17 million people, 17 million cancer survivors living in the States. They can resonate this experience. It's difficult, it's hard. And there are millions more in the entire world, people can resonate with this hardship. But the competences cancer survivors cultivated through this hardship, they're actually super abilities. They're not disability, not liabilities. They're super abilities. What are they? They're grit, resilience, determination, ownership, dedication, empathy, self-discipline, tenacity, strength. There's so many of them. I don't even think I can, finish this list. These are the critical competencies companies are looking for in the prospective hires, right? You know these things. You guys are creative leaders. You hire all the time. You know all the money, the time, the resource you are spending. You are not looking for Photoshop skills or writing skills. You are looking for these super abilities. These super abilities, most people call them soft skills, but these are the soft skills can actually take you through any tough situation. These are the soft skills can actually help you tackle any challenge. But you may realize most of these soft skills, they come from hard experience, right? They don't really just come naturally. So over the years, I've been thinking about this, and there's one question I'm still wondering every day. Who are these lucky bastards get to hire us? And when I say us, you can start with someone within your reach, like even today. So why don't we celebrate these super abilities? Why don't we just champion cancer survivors? Have we actually done that? Probably not. I'm going to do it. NET is going to do it. NET is a social enterprise championing 600,000 young adult cancer survivors living in the States today. They're ready to work again. And remember the numbers. There's nearly 17 million cancer survivors of all age groups, they can resonate this experience. Many of them still in their prime working age. NED is building a community cultivating career confidence in cancer survivors. NED is also building a service offering super abled candidates to employers. If you're not hiring these people, you're actually missing out, right? NED is also building a platform engaging industry leaders to create inclusive career pathways, and more equitable workplaces. So 3 products: community, service, and platform. That's just one thing today, that is NED. Because I believe every time you put 3 things together, something magical happens. Last time, that was Steve Jobs and this thing in your pocket. And today, that's just NED, not entirely dead. NED is a living brand. It's a dynamic branding system. I think you guys probably have seen this in the Henry Art Gallery or probably at Seattle Design Festival this past weekend. The message is really simple. Any career gap on anyone's resume is elephant in the room. You don't know how to address this. No one knows. We have to tackle this challenge. And all these super abilities, these competencies we have, we're representing these things. Behind all these super abilities, there are thousands and thousands of epic comeback stories. Would you want to hear them? I think you deserve to hear all these stories. And remember, I want to bridge this gap. I want to fill this gap for cancer survivors. So here comes the mechanism. That's why I started this company, NED. Because right now, cancer survivors, they can actually join this company. They can join NED on LinkedIn. So the time they work at NED, this company, actually aligns with their start of their diagnosis. So this will actually help them to fill this gap on their profile. And this will actually outsmart that algorithm. I know, it's a genius idea. But I also want to tell you guys, I know the algorithm, they're written by people, right? I don't want to just outsmart this machine, outsmart all the computers. I want to let all the people in the hiring process know what you are missing out. So this is my friend, Julia. She's a breast cancer survivor. She's a real person. She's not a persona. I know in experience design, we all say, hey, let's find a persona. She's real. She has this thing, NED, on her LinkedIn profile. So whenever someone sees this on her profile, I want the person to click through NED and go to notentirelydead.org, go to the website, because I want to shift that narrative right there on the website when they're reading the story. So when they're reading the story of Julius, they will actually realize, wow, how greedy this person is. If we're not hiring her, if we're only seeing this little thing called the career gap, we're actually missing out. There are actually so many creative leaders. They already had their endorsement on the website for this cause. And what I'm trying to do right now and what's happening next, it's just going to be relentless efforts, because I know how difficult this is, how difficult to change people's mind. Remember what people have been telling me, the fierce rejection that's still happening every single day. So I'm actually looking for advocates. Advocates, they're cancer survivors who are actually success cases. Or they don't have to be success cases for now. Maybe they just want to be success cases in the future. I'm looking for allies. Allies, they're the people whose career actually impacted by a resume gap. Any kind of career gap would hurt their career. Allies means moms. We all know women suffer these things for decades. Veterans, or people who had long COVID, or people just got laid off because of COVID. Everyone, at the end of the day, is actually relevant to this issue. They're all my allies. I'm also looking for partnerships. These are the companies, they're industry leaders, they're the enterprises, they always talk about the DEI problems, but I want to look for the partnerships they actually care about taking actions. I don't want to get people, the industry leaders, only to talk about this, because I think the DEI thought leadership is really like teenage sex. Everyone talks about it. Nobody knows what to do with it. Everyone thinks everyone else is doing it. That's why everyone claims they're doing it. So at the end of the day, you're only talking about it. No one is really doing anything. I'm not doing that. I don't think NED is supposed to do that. So here are my roles at NED. I've been doing all these things. I'm the design researcher, the strategist, designer, copywriter, editor, project manager, product manager, producer, design director, and I tried really hard to pretend I'm an entrepreneur. I don't think I'm the material for that. And we've been talking about all kinds of design this morning, right? The brand design, communication design, experience design, service design. I just made up this word called cynical design. I invented that because all these things I do today started with these little thoughts. I was being really cynical. But you all know I'm also very serious about this problem. So one day, I really want to write this book just called Cynical Design. I want to invite this great American writer just to write with me. So watch out, guys. It will be out one day. I believe the most personal is the most creative. But right now, the problem is you also feel all these little problems in our daily life. If they're not affiliated with you directly, you probably won't really engage. So that's always our creative challenge. Here's another way to look at social change. Social change often acts like ocean waves. One wave crashes against the shore, another wave rolls in. All these waves build on each other. And one day, everything looks different. I don't mind Ned being one of the waves crashed against the shore. I don't even think my job is to change the world. But I think if I persist, if I start this conversation to engage people, if I start this social change to tell people there's a need for it, people will actually follow along. They will join these waves. And one day, I know there will be people smarter than me, or maybe just they can see further, they have stronger minds, they will change the world together. Until then, all I can do is just keep running until these people show up. So I think, I'm pretty confident about my epic comeback story. What do you guys think? Was that epic enough? Thank you. You guys are too kind. But I wanna go back to the very beginning of this epic comeback. That just means the bottom of all rock bottoms. So back in 2018, I had this surgery in Indiana. Why Indiana? Well, because my doctor is actually Lance Armstrong's doctor. Know your benchmark, right? That's how I found my doctor. So what they did, they opened me up, they picked everything they didn't like, threw them away, put everything they still liked, put it back, zip up, that was it. So I woke up from anesthesia the next day. I couldn't really figure out what happened because it was like this huge hangover. I realized there was this beautiful nurse standing right next to me, trying to speak with me with something. I couldn't hear. I still remember her name was Caroline. And in a few minutes, there was this young doctor walking the room, checking the patient. And I was trying to sit up. I was trying to shake the doctor's hand, just say something like greetings, right? Show the respect. What I actually wanted to ask was, doctor, how did you do? Was that successful? I don't think you can do these things because you don't really ask doctor these things. So I went, how do I look? I think that's probably the most important question I cared at the moment. The doctor was writing on her notepad, look at me, look at the incision, look at me again. He said one word, badass. I fell in love with that positioning right away because I knew all cancer survivors were just badass people. And I know so many of you guys have friends or family members are going through these problems, issues, experience. Don't feel sorry for them. I don't feel sorry for ourselves. Just tell your friends you're a badass. That's who we are. And since 2018, well, obviously, I've been badassing since then. Thank you for having me today. My name is Eason. I'm not entirely dead.